Steve Morgan for Fishing Monthly Magazine's here with Austackle's Tracey Mammen to talk about one of the newer lures in the Austackle range, which is the Sugar Glider. We got out on the water today, you caught a few fish on the Sugar Glider. I think it's pretty important to tell people that maybe don't know how to use the lure, how to use it, because it's not just to throw it out and wind it in style lure. Can you tell us a little bit about the lure and how you fish it?
Definitely. I really love this lure. It's in a class of its own, really. It's a sinking lure. It's got a vibrating action when you lift it, and as it falls, it's got quite a dramatic little flutter and roll as it drops. And you can also cast it out and just slowly wind it, and it'll drag and swim along the bottom as well. So you can really do everything except fish on the surface with it.
That's right. It's a sinking lure, and I'm describing it. It's probably a cross between a stick bait and a vibration bait.
Yep.
So you can fish it like a blade if you like. You can stick it down to the bottom and lift it. Or if you want to use it like a crankbait, as you said, you can crank it across the flats. If you're going to do a retrieve in, say, 10 foot of water for bream, how would you fish it? Just take us through the technique.
Oh, generally, you've got to take the current and the wind into consideration, of course, but yeah, often you can cast it up current and just wait, keep your bail arm open, let the lure sink, and when your line stops, you're on the bottom. Just take up the slack a little bit, lift the rod tip, and you should be able to feel that vibration, and just let it sink back down and drop your rod and watch your line again. And often if the fish picks it up on the drop, you'll either see your line move away from you or you'll feel it. And sometimes you can do sharp hops and get a little bit more of a kick and then let it sit, and often you'll feel the fish just biting at it, eating it off the bottom. Yeah, or you can do nice slow lifts. Yep. Yeah, or hop it along.
So when you sink it after you lift that line, do you sink it on a slack line or do you sink it on a tight line?
I like to sink it on a slack line. Yep. So the fish doesn't really feel any presence from you, and all it will do is just take off with the lure, and you'll see it happening and feel it, and you just load your rod tip up. Yeah, nice slack line, and let it sit there for a little while. Yeah, and just experiment between sharp stabbing lifts and just slow lifts as well is also good.
Now, this was obviously brought in for the bream market, but it can be used for more species than bream. What species can you catch on?
Oh, well, I caught my very first yellow belly on this lure, actually, and that was almost just jigging right underneath the boat, just hopping it and letting it splash on the sand, splash on the mud. And we can fish for flathead, and actually they're really popular for jewfish. Little small, you have to have light tackle, but yeah, anything that you can fish it over the flats and over the weeds. So we picked up a few little flatties on these today as well.
A couple more questions. What's the recommended retail price for this bait?
All the Austackle lures are $13.50 recommended retail.
And more information I can go to?
More information, you can go to austackle.com.au.
Thanks, Tracey. It's always good to see someone using a lure rather than just read about it in a magazine. So try that with your Sugar Glider next time you're on the water, and you too can have some success. I've taken the opportunity to catch up with, I was going to say Taylor Swift.